Welcome back to the TED Talks show. Now, on today's podcast, I'm going to talk about a topic which I don't think I've actually spoken about properly. I probably have advised people about this on my, free 15-minute calls or mentoring or whatever, or probably done it on an Instagram live, but I'm getting a lot of DMs lately, and it's a topic that it's always in discussion. There's always something happening in the media, I say the property investors world media, and there's always people who are new, who have questions about this, who I think are maybe a bit misaligned or who are not understanding the differences between the two. Now, this is my opinion, right? But I want to go through what the differences are between the two and when I think you need either one in your property journey, because I think they're important at different stages, and that's mentorship versus education, right? And I'll define what I mean by each as well before I get into it. But yeah, I keep getting questions about this, so look, let's talk about it. Let me give you my opinion on it. So, a lot of people when they start out say, "Hey Tej, blah blah blah, I want a mentor. I'm looking for a mentor." And when I kind of probe and ask them more and say, okay, well, what have you read? What podcasts have you listened to? Have you done any courses? Have you shadowed anyone? Have you gone to networking? Have you read the magazine? Like, what's your education level? And it turns out that the education level is pretty lacking. That's not a bad thing. We all start somewhere. But the education level is really low. And I kind of say to them, well, what's a mentor going to do for you at this stage? If you haven't got the education, how good is a mentor? Now, let me define them. Education for me is quite focused on the learning. It's how do you do this? Why should you do it? When should you do it? Where should you do it? Here's the steps. Here's how you find a builder. Here's how you manage them. Here's how you source deals. Here's the techniques I use. Here's how you analyze a deal. Here's how you price up a refurb. Here's what a refinance means. Here's how to find tenants. That's for me what the education piece is, right? The mentorship does include some of that, of course, right? Like if you have a mentor and you have a question, you want an answer. If you learned something recently and you want clarification on it, the mentor should help. So there is a sort of crossover there, right? Kind of a Venn diagram, it crosses over each other. However, a mentor for me is someone who guides, supports, and is ongoing. So, a mentor is not going to spend an hour every week or every month teaching you how to find a deal, how to do this. In my opinion, they should be saying, it should be a kind of two-way street. Okay, well, what have you done this week? Okay, well, the targets we set last week were 10 calls, 15 viewings, 5 offers. What have you done? Okay, you haven't done enough. Why is that? Let's talk about that. Okay, have you been tracking your time? Have you been doing this? Okay, well, have you thought about getting a VA to outsource this? Boom, boom, boom. That's how you make it more efficient. Okay. Okay, what's that deal you were looking at? Let's go through the details of it and let's see if you've missed anything. Let's analyze it. You're not sure on the end value. Okay, let's have a look at the end value. You're feeling a lack of confidence. You're getting rejected. Okay, let's talk about that. You're looking at a new investment area. Okay, let's have a look through that. You've got specific questions and challenges that you're facing on your journey and through your experience. Let's look at that. Let's fix that, right? Let's delve into that. It's kind of like therapy in a way. Let's focus on these ongoing issues, not have you gone on Rightmove and click the sold STC button as well, which that's education. Now, with the right education, you may not even need mentorship, right? That's just my opinion. But if you do, it makes it so much easier because they're not having to teach you every time. So you're saying, I'm struggling with deals. And they're like, have you said this to the agent? No. Have you said no? What do you mean? Have you done this? Have you done DTV? What does DTV mean? It's a waste of your time and money because I bet you mentorship, getting one-on-one with someone costs a lot more than any other education, whether it's free, books, whether it's e-learning, whatever it is. I promise you it's going to cost more, yeah? Don't use that time to learn what you can learn at your own pace in some other form. That mentor should be guiding you. And so I say no to most people who approach me. I say, look, I think you need education. But if I do mentor someone, it really has to be at the stage where, they are doing stuff or they're just about to start doing stuff and there's a few things they want to iron out before they get into it. But most of the time it's people who are doing viewings, right? Who are doing things. And I would say, yeah, look, most mentors will just say, yeah, jump on, pay me. Yeah, give me 10 grand for 3 weeks. I'll sort you out. And of course, if you've asked for it, then you're going to go for it. But really what you need to think is, well, do I have the education? You know, do I have confidence that comes from knowing what I'm doing? Do I need that mentor? Some people always have a mentor, you know, the big name, some don't, whatever. But the main point I'm making here is, you haven't got the education, how are you going to be able to use the mentorship? You know, if you don't know how to chop an onion, and how to saute an onion, how to make a bechamel sauce, are you going to then hire a master chef to every week push you to make these complex recipes and to do all this stuff and to cook when you can't even chop an onion? You're not. You don't have the basic education. And, you know, it's the same for many, many professions, you know, and I think it applies so much in property because there are distinct camps of education and mentoring and some obviously that cross over. You just think, you know, you've got to pay someone X amount of money for mentorship to teach you something which will take, I don't know, 6 weeks, an hour a week maybe, that you could do in your own pace with some other type of platform, with something else. Why wait 6 weeks and pay more just because they're the one teaching you when you could do it in, you know, a few hours, a few weeks, whatever, of your own pace and repeat it and watch it again and go, why would you do that? So for me, mentorship really needs a solid base and a solid foundation to be able to work. Because otherwise, the mentor's going to get frustrated. I mean, they probably won't get frustrated, a lot of them, because they're getting paid. But I get frustrated and people will get frustrated if they're teaching the pure basics along the way. For me, that's where education comes into it. And I see quite a distinct difference there. I'd love to know your thoughts, you know, leave a comment, send me a DM, you know, and I'd love to learn from your experience as well. And of course, look, choosing an education provider, I'm not going to get into that too deep, but what I will say is pick someone who is doing what they say they're doing. Don't pick a marketer. Unless you want to do a marketing course, you want to do property, I assume. So therefore you would pick someone who is showing you and documenting their actual journey and what they're doing, highs and lows. Not someone who markets and does clickbaity headlines where it actually doesn't deliver, or, you know, takes a man off the street and turns him into a millionaire overnight, or whatever bollocks people are coming out with, or just says stuff and has no substance. Don't fall for that shit. Property is hard, and if someone tells you it's easy and it can be done overnight and it can be done quickly, and personally, you know, you're to blame for believing that shit, right? Listen to me when I tell you it is hard. It is very hard and challenging. So you need someone who tells you that. You need someone who says, look, it's a pain in the ass, right? It's gonna take longer than you expect, but that's what I based, you know, this training off. That's what you need from someone, not, yeah, join it, you source a deal on the course, blah, blah, blah. You know? And it's easy to fall into that because you don't know what you're doing, you're early, you haven't got the confidence, you haven't got the knowledge. So I'm not sort of trying to blame, but I think, take it from me, property is hard. If someone tells you differently, someone says it can be done easier or quicker, yeah, it can be done easier or quicker, but at its core, it is challenging, and we have to realize that. So look, pick someone who's doing what they say they're doing. But for me, if you're brand new and you're listening to this, I think maybe, without knowing your situation, you need to educate, whether it's by yourself, whether it's paid, whatever. You need to do education first before you look for a mentor, in my opinion. Because I think they're much more useful when you're doing stuff and when you're on it and when you're actively coming up with problems, like theoretical problems. How do I analyze this? Like, or how do I generally work this out? Or, you know, how do I price up a refurb? Or, oh, you know, X blah, blah, blah with lenders, 6 months, post 6 months. You can educate yourself. It may not be for free, some of that stuff, but you can educate that yourself. So when you come with a level of understanding, and that mentor then pushes you, not just a property, but they push you as a business person, as an entrepreneur, as a human, to do better and be better, to increase your performance to a certain level. So therefore, you know, they're offering more than just a standard thing, and they're not having to take time doing the basic stuff. For me, that is how you maximize a mentor, and that's how you maximize education. And as I said before, there's points, you know, on my bite. Now I've bloody done it all, I know what I'm doing. But there were points where, specific points where I look at a wall, I look at something, I just think, you cost me $5 grand of profit. Literally, right? Like actually. And I know there's certain steps along the way where I had a decision, I had a point, right? And I took the right road I took the left road instead of the right road. And that led me to a point of making loss or having a worse deal than the right road, which would have led me to a better point. Because at that moment, I didn't have a mentor saying, Tej, like, listen, that's not even a question. Don't be silly. You need to plaster that wall. You need to do that level of work. You need to check this. I didn't have that. And earlier on, I didn't even have the right education. So as well as not having someone telling me that, I didn't have like the knowledge to be like, yes, that's going to cost X amount. That's going to cost this. It should take about this long. We have to do this. We don't need to do. Don't spend £200 on a black mat shower rail, moron. Buy something else. But I didn't have that. So I've seen firsthand. Yeah, look, I'm successful now, if you want to call it. But I could have been way better off if I just had someone. And it could have been once a month. I would have benefited hugely by saying, right, here's my problems this month. Tell me what to do. Especially during the refurb, especially someone who understands and loves refurbs. Wow. I would be in a different position to who I am now, and I still would have learned. I would have just learned from his mistakes or her mistakes, not mine. So, education versus mentorship. I hope that has been useful. Please like, subscribe, share it in your story. Do your thing, please. I really appreciate it. Oh, hey, on the podcast, if you haven't already,